So, hey, everybody, welcome to Fridays with Steve. We've got a really fun episode for you. We've done a number of these episodes that really focus on the different advanced aspects of Teams, whether it's calling or rooms or Teams Premium. And so we just thought we would do a quick retrospective. I know it's only April, but time really seems to be moving fast this year. And so we thought we'd do a retrospective on some of the things that have launched or are currently sort of launching and rolling out into the Teams world, and talk about some of my favorites or some of the ones that I think are impactful. Frankly, some that are tied to some solutions that we really focus on and bring to market, and just maybe kind of spur your creativity a little bit as you think about taking Teams to the next level. Lots of interesting developments. Watch for a webinar coming up from us around sort of the Teams debundling event. We're calling it debundling. I'm not sure that's a word, but we think that's kind of the best way to characterize what's going on. And so we're going to be talking a lot about things in this space. And so, let's kind of kick that off with a fun episode where we're going to talk about some of these advanced features coming in. I've got some graphics and some examples. We've even got a video that we're going to kind of work into today's episode as well. And I'll probably move kind of fast because the fun comes when you actually take the opportunity to play with some of these things. Like I said, some are going to require Teams Premium. Some may require Copilot. If either one of those things are interesting to you, but not available to you currently in your environment, feel free to go ahead and give us a call. So the first one is actually one near and dear to my heart, which is voice isolation. Video has come a long way really fast. But doing as much content consumption as I do, both in my professional and my personal life, I am an absolute maniac for audio quality. It's the reason we invested a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit to make sure I had some pretty good equipment here in the home office, in the home studio. So the audio comes through loud and clear. And so voice isolation is a new feature coming to Teams that will really focus on that voice, sort of the, I don't know if it's the flip side or the mirror image of noise cancellation and noise canceling headphones. This is, voice isolation. So let's grab the pattern of your voice and not just suppress background noise based on things that look like static, but let's look at your voice and suppress everything that doesn't look like your voice, right? That's where things get really interesting because, sometimes background noise is one thing, right? I've got a fan running in the background. Hopefully that's not coming through loud and clear. But it'd be different if there was another person, say, in an open meeting space talking, or I think the one a lot of us are familiar with is a dog barking, right? Something that's kind of like a human voice and kind of not like one of those predictable things that we can suppress, like static or the wind, or some of the devices have things that suppress like clapping or sneezing. This one actually says, let's look at your voice and then just suppress everything that doesn't look like it. So that's a selection that you make within the Teams client, and it's rolling out right now. So the next one I want to talk about is really near and dear to our heart here at Apex, which is, the 99 point, a whole bunch of nines uptime when it comes to voice. When we first got into this business, and when I first started to talk to customers about moving their voice infrastructure into Teams, there's a lot of pushback, right? That Teams, the folks who worked on Teams historically come from the client server side. They come from the Microsoft solution side, the productivity side, and the voice side in many organizations was a different set of people, usually sitting on a different floor, right? And so there was a lot of suspicion about, hey, is this really ready to be dial tone for our organization? Because in many instances, it is still one of, if not the most critical service that you need to ensure your business is up and running. And so effective April 1st, financially backed service level agreement from Microsoft covering calling plans, Teams Phone, and PSTN audio conferencing. So if you're using those tools, as well as potentially using the Teams calling plans as your backhaul for voice, for dial tone, for PSTN connectivity, those things all come with a financially backed SLA. It is in Microsoft's best interest and all the stockholders' best interest to pay out on this as little as humanly possible. So it's one of those things where they make the guarantee and they hope they never have to pay out on it. Another one that we talk a lot about, whether it's in the meeting space or now in the call space, is this notion of an intelligent recap. I know one of the things that has benefited us greatly already in meetings is the ability to focus on the conversation, to focus on driving to consensus or getting questions answered, and relying on the technology to give us that recap, the notes, the action items, the subtleties, so that we record it, but don't necessarily have to go through the whole recording. And so that functionality coming to calls is really, really an advancement and sort of the personal productivity, the personal accountability level. Works with both VoIP and PSTN calls. It is a Teams Premium and Copilot feature. Like I said, there's going to be more and more differentiation between the M365 suite of products, whether it's E or M365E or Office 365E, Business Premium and Business Standard, Teams as a standalone, Teams Premium, Copilot. There's going to be more differentiation, and a partner like Apex Digital can really help you navigate that world. So this is one of those features that are really driving productivity at a user level, but require that Teams Premium or Copilot license. The next one is also a premium feature called the Queues app. And so this is an app, a standalone app within Teams. So on the left-hand bar, this will be one that has its own presence, just like files or just like chat or activity. And it gives you really, really robust call queue management, analysis, usage functionality right within Teams. Analyze the data, publish and access reports, and manage customer calls, handle those calls, make outgoing calls on behalf of the call queues or auto attendants, right? And so you're keeping all of that activity under the scope of the queue or of the sort of the common footprint here in your voice world. I know one of the things that my team works really hard to do is to say, how do we keep the messaging sort of in the stream, right? In the channel that it's created in. If a message comes into sales or a message comes into procurement, how do we, be careful not to reply from personal inboxes and all of a sudden sort of fork the message. And so the Queues app is really designed to help you avoid that problem within your voice infrastructure, right? Opting team members in or out, kind of punching in and out of the call queues, performance reports, easily work with greetings and other administrative functions. We've been setting up call queues and auto attendants for customers for years now, right within Teams. But this Queues app available in Teams Premium is really meant to try and take that to the next level, both for usability and productivity, but also for administration and analysis on the back end. So updates to collaborative notes before and after a meeting. Again, keeping all the information in the stream. This is a theme. I think I've got at least one more that sort of fits this pattern, right? To say, hey, you're invited to the meeting. Let's collaborate on the meeting notes and agenda, sort of that, multi-author, co-author experience on the meeting prep. Maybe some of you are like me. You've developed some 7 highly effective habits of meetings, over many years, and doing things like including agendas and including the files for review and things like that. But it's a static thing. Half of the time, the people I invite can't find it in the invite, or they don't think to look for that kind of collateral within the invite. Most people are pretty conditioned to just sort of accept, decline, maybe, without really going too deep into a meeting invite. And so, this platform is really about how do we collaborate on setting up the meeting, on getting sure we're all aligned going in, and then keep that cohesive, keep that, I guess my term is, in the same channel, in the same stream of information as the post meeting notes, right? To say, hey, here's the connective tissue. Here's our agenda. Here's what we talked about. We'll talk about chats and transcripts here in a second. And then the notes afterwards. And so this update is available now. Really super, super powerful. I will admit it's a bit of a change for me. It's a bit of a different style. I've probably been a painfully slow adopter, if you ask my team, on some of the innovation like loop components and stuff like that, because I was trying to do some of these things with the old tools. And so I'm having to kind of switch my approach to accomplish similar things. Frankly, these tools are better able to accomplish the goals. Like I said, half of the time the files I attach to a meeting invite sort of get lost in translation. So speaking of the same theme, this is a big one, right? So Copilot will access the meeting chat along with the transcript of the recording. And so this is a huge one, because I think even going back to my career at Microsoft, a decade and a half ago, I was preaching this, hey, when you're in a meeting, there's this stream of information in the chat, right? The questions, the answers, the back and forth, the posting of links and things like that. And over time, there have been different ways to get at it, right? There was a search function, say, in like Link or Skype for Business. And now what we've evolved to is saying, hey, Copilot, look at the transcript, but then integrate that chat information so that if someone says, hey, everyone needs to visit this website and make sure they're registered, and the website get posted in the chat, Copilot can bring those two things together for you in those AI generated notes and recaps. It's still a challenge today, to the point where, I think some of us think consciously about, hey, should I say this out loud, or should it be on a slide? Because if it's in the chat, it's a little bit more esoteric. We even use some partner tools like from our friends at Frameable that do a better job of surfacing meeting chats. With our leadership team, we meet in a number of different ways, including some channel meetings. And, we have a leadership chat. We have this leadership team meeting chat as well. And sometimes I'm left scratching my head going, well, where did I see that thing? And so what Copilot is working to do here is in the instance of a meeting, really integrate all the information that's brought together. We just did a recap of a great event we participated in Detroit in the last week or so. And I've already reviewed sort of the Copilot action items and go-dos, and it's absolutely fantastic. And having that now integrated with the chat, where I posted a picture, we talked about a company size, so I posted a screenshot of their page in LinkedIn, right? Having that information correlated is going to be a big, big win for all of us. So this is another one we're talking to a lot of customers about, even to the point that for Teams Premium, we now have a solution, a service, a package service available in Microsoft's App Source that really focuses on bringing sort of practical experience, both education kind of workshop-like, as well as training and sort of go-dos within an environment focused on Teams Premium and focused on great town halls, great webinars. What are the differences? When should I choose what? And so this feature supporting content distribution networks for really, really, really big town halls is absolutely fantastic. With all the work we do in rooms, we also do a lot of work in custom spaces. Oftentimes it might be a town hall or sort of a company commons kind of space. And historically, these organizations may have used production companies. They may have just done, video feeds and, one-way video and things like that. But now it's a room that's Teams enabled. The inevitable next question is, well, how do I just do all this in Teams? And we actually have a couple of customers that really push the boundary on Teams native capability. Again, Microsoft is a very, very big solution that tries to really satisfy most of us, 80%, 90%, 95% of the cases. But even in their world, sometimes you'll notice that a big event like Ignite or Inspire, it's not a big Teams meeting. It is a professionally produced content distribution network, whatever Akamai is called now, kind of endeavor. And so what we're doing now with Teams Premium is giving folks the ability to distribute that feed and even work with things like Q&A across a broad content distribution network. So this is a big advancement. It's probably for those organizations that we work with or that you might work at that have, thousands and thousands of people, hundreds or thousands of endpoints, global manufacturers, or maybe a retail endeavor like Target here in Minnesota, or Meijer, or Kroger, or something like that, where, hey, every store is going to be in on this, and we want that Q&A functionality, and we want it in Teams. And so the CDN support is really, really critical to that. The next one is for you administrators. It's always a little interesting deploying a quote unquote headless, PC. I've seen our guys, whether it's Bruce or Sean or any of the other engineers on our team, have to do some interesting things around cutting and pasting passwords or interacting with a panel, scanning a QR code and things like that. And so having Autopilot come to these Teams rooms, appliances or devices on Windows is a really, really big deal. It automates the enrollment. You're getting the same the same things that you need on each one of these devices without manual scripting or writing long instructions. The credentials are stored within the service as opposed to being distributed far and wide. Security and compliance, you can be much more ensured that things are happening correctly. And I guess the last one, it's not on the slide, but it's always been a big one for me. Because my background was in, very much hands-on PC support. It's where I started my career. And even back then, we had developed processes where I would troubleshoot something for 20 or 30 minutes. But then if it wasn't fixable or we weren't getting the problem solved, it was reimage, right? Reimaging has come a long way, but there was a bit of a blind spot when it came to these MTRs, right? There was, a little bit more interaction needed. And so you're a little hesitant to say, hey, I don't know what's happened. This MTR, it was the first one we installed 36 months ago. Let's just, autopilot it and get a reset on there. I don't know. There's some cobwebs in the machine. And so having this functionality within the MTR infrastructure is really, really cool stuff. And so I talked before with my friends at Neat about their Neat Frame and how the QR code is available there for hot desking, phone boothing with their Frame device. And now joining meetings with a QR code is coming to Teams rooms on Windows and Android, available here in the first half, right? So, we've got the proximity join, we've got the join from the calendar. Now we're also going to have this ability to, companion mode in Teams Mobile. So I can just bring in my phone into the room, right? Maybe I forgot my laptop. I don't have it with me. I don't want to lug it in. Maybe it's not that kind of meeting. Maybe it's maybe it's a job interview or something like that, and I've got the room reserved, or I don't have the room reserved, but it's open. I could just walk in with my mobile device and be able to go ahead and get in to that meeting really, really easily. So this is a big step. I think Microsoft is doing a good job with the MTR environment of continuing to drive sort of that ease of use. We still run into customers, the less tech savvy customers, the ones focused in completely different industries. Maybe, selling this tech is something that's adjacent. Maybe you're a design shop, an architecture shop, a furniture, retailer, commercial kind of real estate space. You don't use these tools, or you don't use them very often. But a lot of the companies you're talking to are designing a building that's going to have 30 Teams rooms in it, right? So you want to show the technology, show what your partners at Apex Digital can do for you, hypothetically, right? And having something easy like this for a lot of folks is going to be a big, big win. So camera switching for IntelliFrame, I've actually got a YouTube video I'll go to here in a second. It is really about extending this great home experience, like one camera, one person, back into the room. Because one of the things that has been interesting is a lot of us have gotten very comfortable with 6 meeting attendees, 6 faces in a box, right? And now just thinking about our own organization and me working, much of my time remote from the office here in my home, is that, I'm in a box and maybe a couple other remote attendees are in a box, but then 3 of my peers are in a single box, right? So do I pin that one so it gets bigger so I can see them? Because if I leave speaker view on, then when that meeting gets small, it's so small I can't see people's faces. And so IntelliFrame is meant to help address that. Our vendor partners are also doing a ton of work in this space. We had the great conversation with Neat. They showed some of their technology. I know our friends at Logi and Jabra do things along this continuum as well. But Microsoft is also in the game with IntelliFrame. So let's just take a second, well, not a second, like a minute and a half, and take a look at this quick video on IntelliFrame.
Joni is headed into the office. Today is a big day. Just one hitch. There's construction on the bridge. She's going to have to do her presentation remotely. And this is an important one. Her manager is going to decide if Joni's project gets funded. Normally, there's a certain amount of context you miss if you're not in the room. But fortunately for Joni, IntelliFrame can now help using automatic camera switching. In addition to the in-room camera, team members bringing their laptops, IntelliFrame can use these cameras too. Everyone settles in, and Grady kicks off the meeting. Joni's manager addresses her directly, and IntelliFrame automatically switches to the laptop camera. Joni responds without missing a beat. Grady raises his hand and weighs in, but something doesn't feel quite right. Joni needs to see her manager's reaction, but she leans out of view of the room camera. IntelliFrame switches to her laptop camera, and it's clear she isn't happy. That's not good. And Grady doesn't notice that his pitch isn't landing. Joni jumps in and skips ahead to the backup option of their proposal. That did the trick. Joni's project is moving forward. Automatic camera switching for IntelliFrame brings the in-room experience to those working remote, leveling the playing field for all employees, no matter where they're working.
And so just to reframe that real quick with our vendor partners, is Microsoft here is talking about, or their example is about using the laptop cameras and everybody individually joined, whether it's our partners at Neat or at other vendors, they're actually using their cameras to isolate people. So we talked to Neat and they look for human-shaped objects. And so with that one camera setup in the room, whether it's on a Neat bar or a frame or a board, they actually do IntelliFraming up to a maximum amount just based off of that one camera, right? And so there's different takes on this premise, but what all of it does is get us that full face-to-face experience, whether it's front row or whether it's a gallery view, sort of regardless of the meeting dynamics or technology. So the next one is recognition and attribution using Copilot, right? So this is using intelligent speakers and speaker recognition to say, hey, not only did the room say this, I know that this is Joanne, or this is Michael, or this is this person in the room. Right now, as this is rolling out, what we see in meetings like the one we had today is things will be attributed in the transcript to Steve Thompson or Heidi Bodell because we were joined individually. But unfortunately, Jason, Bruce, and others were in a room together. And so the attribution right now just simply says Executive Briefing Center, which is the name of the room they were in. And so Microsoft is investing heavily to expand the functionality within Copilot, within the intelligent speakers, within the Teams technology, to be able to do attribution. And that's going to be a big step forward. Just like IntelliFrame gives us that one-to-one connection video, this will give us that one-to-one transcription and attribution experience when it comes to audio. Multi-panel check-in. And so, so many of our customers love them some panels, right? We've had a number of customers put panels on rooms that aren't Teams rooms. Why? Because it's still a schedulable space. There's no technology in it. Maybe it's designed for, one-on-ones or simply, working on your own, but they will still invest in panels to do it. And we've seen some of these things where meetings get sort of ghosted and orphaned, or the panels get out of sync. If you have multiple ways to address it, there's one on the wall outside. It's a large room, so there's one on the table, there's one on the front screen. And so multi-panel check-in and the investments Microsoft is making here in the first half of 2024 is going to make that experience a lot better as well. So that's it for kind of my top 10, top 11, top 12. I'm not good at sticking to the rules. Features that have come out for Teams Rooms so far this year. I wanted to make sure customers are aware of this opportunity to kickstart your Teams Rooms with our pilot program. We've partnered with our vendors and with Microsoft to, if you qualify, be able to get 2 rooms deployed really, really fast, right? Microsoft invests, we invest, our hardware partners invest, and we can really jumpstart your consumption of Teams Rooms. You got to reach out to us. There are, asterisks and footnotes and things like that about your size, your commitment to deploying, additional rooms and things like that. But a lot of our customers have qualified so far, and we've done a number of these for customers to really help them start their journey. So if this is something that interests you, reach out to me or reach out to the team, and I'll go over that contact information here in a minute. So that's us, 24 plus years. Actually, next week, I am going to be, or this week, we might be doing a bit of a pre-record. I will actually be in Southfield, Michigan. And one of the meetings on my calendar is planning for our 25-year celebration. And so that 24 plus is going to tick up to 25 here pretty soon. We've got a lot of expertise in this space. We're really focused on Microsoft and modern work, especially around Teams and those advanced workloads, calling, meeting rooms, Teams Premium, Copilot. And we're really, really ready to help you. And so contact your account executive or just reach out to sales@apexdigital.com. As always, if you saw something in this presentation or you want to just reach out to me, reach out to sthompson@apexdigital.com. Happy to share the slides. You saw some embedded links in there about, how-tos and, the Learn article, let's say, about call queues and stuff like that within the Queues app. And so if you want a copy of the deck, just let me know. Our website has got lots of resources on it. We're actually in the planning stages for making it an even better experience. So watch this space for a new launch of apexdigital.com coming soon. And like I said, when all else fails, just reach out to me here via email or grab me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find. There are a lot of Steve Thompsons, but there's only one that works for Apex Digital. So that's it. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Fridays with Steve. You can reach out to us for any of the things we talked about. Also visit the website, apexdigital.com, whack pilot. And you can get your pilot eligibility checked by our experts. So that's it. And we'll see you next time on Fridays with Steve.